Hello, Player5501 here. Welcome to this video. So in this guide, I will be telling you how to install Arch Linux from scratch to getting up to a GUI and installing an AUR helper and some nice things that you would expect from a distribution that you're going to be using. So the first thing, I'm going to assume you know how to download an ISO and flash to the thumb drive and then boot to it. Yeah, so basically I'll be covering the contents of this page. I'll kind of describe what's going on here and a bit more. If you want to follow along with this, I'll have this linked in the description. And okay, one more thing I'm going to expect to have is wired Ethernet. You can get Wi-Fi to work in the live CD, but it's kind of annoying sometimes. So I'm going to assume you have wired Ethernet just for the purpose of this tutorial. All right, and without further ado, let's get into the installation. All right, so once you have booted the Arch ISO successfully, you should get to a screen that looks a little bit like this. So the first thing we want to do is run ifconfig and make sure we have Ethernet. And then you can go ping, then any website, and it should give you a response. Okay, yep, there we go. So we're seeing response. Okay, we have internet. So then the next thing we do after we have internet is we want to, if you are using a non-US keyboard layout, you will need to set the keyboard layout. There is instructions for that on the Arch Wiki. Okay, the next thing we're gonna do is wanna see, are we in EFI boot mode? So we're gonna run ls/sys/firmware and then /EFI vars. Now, okay, no such file directory. If this returns anything other than no such file directory, it means you are using EFI boot mode. If it's like this, it means you are using legacy boot mode. Doesn't really matter too much right now, but you will need that for later. So remember what you got. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure our clock is set right. So we're going to go time date ctl set tech ntp. I can type true. And then that will sync up our clock, right? And then, all right, now that the clock's synced up, the next thing we're gonna do is fun part, partitioning drives. So for the purposes of this, I'm assuming you are installing to a blank disk. If you are not, you'll need to adjust this. All right, sorry about that jump cut there. But okay, so now that we've got our time set, we want to run a command like lsblk. And we're gonna see we've got our disks. So one of those is gonna be your thumb drive. One of those is going to be whatever else you got in your system. And then, so we're going to be installing to VDA. In most systems that would be SDA, but because this is a virtual machine, it's VDA. VDA and SDA can be interchangeable when I'm talking about it right now. All right, so after we've run lsblk and listed our drives, we're going to remember, okay, did we choose do we have an MBR system or a UEFI system? So I'm going to be doing a tutorial for MBR system, and if the UEFI system is basically the same, it's just another partition or two, and you can take a look at that on the Arch Wiki page linked below. Okay, so we're going to run fdisk/dev/VDA. So fdisk/dev/VDA. Okay. All right, now that we're in fdisk, we're gonna create two new partitions, one for swap and one for root. So we're gonna hit N and then hit enter. Primary partition, partition 1, first sector, we can hit enter. And the second sector, we want this to be 1 gigabyte. So we can go plus 1024, and then capital M. Then created a new partition, 1 gigabyte. Okay, then we can hit new again for the next one, primary. Partition 2, first sector is what we'll leave it at. Then you can put another number here, or if we want the rest of the disk, which we do, we can just hit enter, and now it's all good. Nothing's actually changed, so what we want to do is hit W, and now all our changes have been written to the disk. We're on lsblk again. We can see we've got our VDA, VDA1, and VDA2. All right, now that we've got our drive partitioned, now we want to format. So we can just run for swap. We can go mk swap, then /dev/VDA, and then 1 is our swap partition. And then it'll do that. So it's done that. So you're, like I said, you might replace VDA with SDA if you're running it on a real system. And then we're going to go mk.ext4, or no. All right, now we're going to run mkfs.ext4 and then /dev/vda2. And then that will make a ext4 file system. And now we are done partitioning the drives. Now the next thing we're going to want to do is mount them. So we can just run mount/dev/vda2/mount. And then that's all mounted. Now we can go cd/mount. And we see we've got our lost and found. So that is default files on the root of a ext4 partition. Okay, the next thing we're gonna do is get to installing. But first we want to take a look at our mirrors. So we're gonna go, today I'm gonna be using nano. So we're gonna do nano/etc/pacman.d/mirror_list. Okay, so now we've got this big list of mirrors. So basically what you wanna do is take one. You can just use shift and then the arrow keys or the end key, select this, and then you can control K to cut that. But what I want to do is find the ones for China. So what I'm going to do is hit control W, and then I'm going to type China, and then we can go doot, and then we've selected that, and then we can go control K and it'll disappear. We can go back up to the top of the file, and then we can go control U to uncut. And now we've got that. So you're going to want to substitute China for whatever country you're in, so you can get, this is the download server, so it'll be faster if you choose one in your country. Then we can hit Control O, Enter, and then Control X to get out of Nano. All right, so now that we've set up our mirrors, we want to run packstrap to install the system. So packstrap, and then /mount, which is our mount point. Now we need to decide which packages we want. So we want base, which is base, Linux, and Linux Tech firmware are required packages. And then I usually like to install things like Network Manager and bash completion. And then we should be able to hit enter, and it will start running packages and installing stuff. So this might take few minutes because it's going to have to download a bunch of stuff from the internet, and then once this is done I will be back with the next steps. Alright, after we're done installing the system, the first thing we're going to do is turn the swap space on. So we're going to go swap on /dev/vda1, and now we run lsblk, and we can see that it says swap to the next VDA1, which means we've successfully enabled swap. Okay. Next thing we want to do is generate our fs tab. So there is a nice command for this. So we're going to run gen fs tab, and then capital U, and then /mount. So this is for generating fs tab with device UUIDs, and then /mount is where we're generating them for. Then we're going to do 2 arrows over to the side, and then we will go /mount/etc/fs tab. And then just hit enter, and that will generate our fs tab and put it in the proper location. All right, after we generate our fs tab, we're going to want to go into our system. So we can do that. We can run arch chroot/mnt. Now we are in our system, and now that we're in our system, we're going to do a few things. So the first thing is going to be set a time zone. So to do that, we're going to run ln techsf/user/share/zone-info. Now in here, we press tab, there's a bunch of regions. So I'm going to go Asia, and then we're going to go China. So Shanghai is a city in China. So we've got Asia, Shanghai. Then we can do /etc/local time. So the time zone set. Okay. And now the next thing we're going to do is run hw clock tech systochc, and that does something with clocks. Don't ask me. All right, so now that we're back, we want to generate our locales. So first we're going to go nano to etc/locale .gen, and then, all right. So we can just do that again. So we can Control W. We want en_us. We can just search for that. If you want something else, search it up. We can uncheck both the en tag us just by removing the hashtag at the beginning. Then Control O to save, and then Control X to get out. And now we can run locale gen, and this will generate up our locales. It takes a decent bit. If you have more than one or two, it might take a few minutes. Just keep that in mind. Now we're gonna go to make sure this is set. So nano/etc/locale.conf, and it would appear this is a new file. Now we're gonna go lang equals, and then whatever you selected. So in my case, we're gonna go en_us.utf-tac8. So yeah, bit of a mouthful, but that's what we want. All right, now that we've generated our locales, we're gonna configure some network things. So first we're gonna set our host name. So nano/etc/host name. And so this is what your computer is gonna be called on the network. So for me, I'm just gonna call this arch-tac-vm. Type today, and then Control O. This can be really anything you want. I think it might have to be no spaces. I'm not sure about that. So we can get that. We can Control O, Control X to get out of nano. All right, the next thing we're gonna want is host. So nano/etc/hosts. All right, okay. So there's some pretty basic stuff. 127.0.0.1, then local host, and then ::1, and then local host. Can Control O, Control X to get out, and that is done. And now I believe this is we've reached the end of the Arch Wiki if you're following along on there. So the next few things we want to do is set a password. So PASSWD, and then it'll ask you for a password. You can just put in a password. This will be your root password. That's important. Okay, now the next thing we're gonna need to do is install a bootloader. So right now your system's up, but if you reboot, you're not gonna be able to boot. So, well, we're gonna install grub. So we're gonna run pacman tac-s grub, and then just yes, and just go ahead and install. All right, now that we've installed grub, we want to install the package grub. We want to install it to our system. So we're gonna run grub tac install, and then tac target equals i386 tac pc, and then /dev/vda. So this is just our entire disk, and it will install it to the MBR. All right, now that we've got it installed, we need a configuration. So making a configuration should be pretty simple. It's just grub tac mk config, tab tac o, then /boot /grub.cfg. So /boot/grub/grub.cfg. And enter. And now it will generate a config, and you'll see we've got our Linux image and got our fallback image. And now in theory, we should be able to hit it with a reboot. Well, actually, first we're going to exit out. So we can hit exit. Now we're back into the installer, and we can hit reboot, and we should get into a system. All right, now that we've rebooted, we've got our grub. Can go and just hit enter, Arch Linux, and it will go ahead and boot up for us. All right, now that we're at the boot screen, we're gonna log in as root, not as player 5501. We put in our password, and now that we're here, what we want to do is, so we installed Network Manager earlier, but we want to enable it. So we're going to systemctl enable Network Manager. So capital N, we can enable it. We can hit up, and then we can go start. Oh, user add, and then we're going to go with player 5501 for me. So now we've added a user. Now we want to go group add sudo. Okay, we've created a group. Now we can run user mod tac a tac g sudo player 5501. And then so what that does is it adds our user player5501 to the sudo group. Obviously replace player5501 with your own user. Now the next thing we want to do is go into vi sudo. All right, after we add our user, we're gonna run editor equals nano vi sudo. Make sure we get editor all caps and we spell it right. Definitely didn't miss a line up there. Okay, so we're gonna hit enter. Now we're in here. Now this is a file important for running, for us being able to do things. So we've got user privilege section, root, all. So root can do anything. Doesn't matter. Okay, so there's the wheel group or the sudo group. Today we're gonna be using the sudo group. So basically just we wanna mark out that, get rid of that hashtag, Control-O, Control-X, and now our user has root permissions, or sudo permissions, correction. And then the next thing we want to do is, we could reboot, but first we want to make sure our user has a password. So we're going to run passwd, and then our user, player5501, we can auto-complete, hit tab, and then we can give our user a password. Now when we go to reboot, we can actually log in as our user. So I'm gonna go ahead and reboot now. Hello there, Editor Nathan here. It was at this point in the video where I was gonna show you how to actually install a desktop environment and all the stuff you need with that, but it was super long and convoluted, so I'm gonna just kind of cut that out and I'm gonna show you this instead. Okay, so we can just jump over to Firefox here, and I've got all these pages open, so I'll have this all linked below. So it's basically just, you can search up a package, installation, it's got the package name, same for here. We want to make, and also this is reminding us we want a working Xorg, so that's just the Xorg package, just install that. Okay, and then LightDM is a display manager and a greeter, so it's nice, we can use it. So installation, LightDM package, and all we should need if you just want the greeter is LightDM tac GTK greeter, and then what we can do is you can sudo systemctl enable LightDM, and then just hit enter, and it will enable LightDM. So next time you boot up, you will see LightDM. You can log in as your user, put in your password, do whatever. And then in the top right, there will be options to select whatever desktop if you have multiple installed. And then I think there's one more thing we wanted to cover, which was installing Yay, which is an AUR manager. So I will pull up the GitHub page and be right back. Okay, so I've opened up the AUR page for Yay. So Yay is an AUR helper. An AUR helper, basically what it does is it makes it a lot easier and faster to install packages from the AUR. The AUR is the Arch user repository, which is, like it says, it's the user repository for Arch Linux. And it's got lots of packages that are nice to have, and it helps you out, saves you time. And installing it should just be as simple as copy, paste this, and then you can hit enter, and then we'll download that. Then you can cd Yay and make package tac si. Then you have Yay in your system, and you can run packages through that. If you are a first-time Arch Linux user, you're going to want to know things like sudo pacman tac syu is to update your entire system. So if you've just done, you're not going to have any updates, but if there's any updates that will run, pacman tac r is, then the package name is remove a package. Should be pretty self-explanatory, and of course the Arch wiki is very, very helpful. There are a plethora of things that you can find on here, learn on here. And if you need any graphics drivers for specific hardware, look on the Arch wiki, run a quick Google, it'll give you some help. And I think that should be about it. Yep. All right, I think we've reached the end of the video now, and thanks for watching. If you liked it, give it a like. If you think someone else could benefit from this, share it. And if you have any questions, comments, or criticisms, just post them down in the comments, and I will get back to you. So that's it for me. See y'all later. And now for some bloopers. All right, so we've got this Arch. We're booted into the iShut. Tongue twister. What do you mean, nano not found? Pacman Tackus.